So imagine a treatment that could increase your strength and your energy, boost your immune system, regulate your weight and your metabolism, consolidate your memories, even clear waste from the brain. And no, it doesn't make your hair grow, but you're working on that. That treatment exists. It's not a miracle drug, it's called sleep. And I've been working for about 40 years trying to understand how tiny clocks in our brain regulate our timing and tell our body what time it is. Yes, we are clocks with legs. And those clocks regulate everything: when we wake up, when we go to sleep, when we eat. But society hands us schedules: 24/7 services, school bells, shift work. And when those schedules collide with biology, we get a big disruption. We can call it social jet lag. It is as if we commuted every day between two time zones without even a passport. So let's start by asking a simple question here. What time is it? Well, it's not that easy. There are three possible answers for that. There's the time according to your wristwatch, the time according to the sun, and the time according to your biological clock. They should align, right? Spoiler alert, they rarely do. And one of the things they don't align on is sleep. So why do we sleep? And more questions. How much should we sleep? When should we sleep? And how should we sleep? Well, I have good news. Science, let's call it sleepology, has the answer to why, how much, when, and how do we sleep. It's very simple, just two words: no idea. We have no clue. We have no universal prescription for sleep. Well, we do know a few things. For example, we know from anecdotal evidence that we are sleeping about 1 hour less than 50 years ago and 2 hours less than 100 years ago. So if we do the calculations and we extrapolate a little bit, I can tell you that by the year 2758, we won't sleep anymore. And about when do we sleep? Well, some people are more early people. Some people are more late people, larks and owls. Some people are very early and some people are very late. And sometimes a very early person meets a very late person and they get married. In that case, if they have children, it's a miracle. We can't explain it. But we do know enough to act. And I want to give you three lenses to understand how we can act with sleep and rhythms. The three lenses are sleep capital, sleep health diplomacy, and what I like to call the circadian about-a-day city. First lens, sleep capital. Capital is something that we invest on, that we deplete. It's money, human capital, social capital. But sleep capital is the reservoir or restorative sleep that we as individuals have and that a society has. And it's horribly uneven. So who burns through it? Low-income people, commuters, shift workers, teenagers. And this uneven in sleep capital gives less opportunities to people. Second lens, sleep health diplomacy. If we want to solve this, it's not enough to have a ministry, a lab, or an app. We need to negotiate. We need diplomacy. It's a diplomacy of hours, not of borders. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it's political, but it works. Let me give you a couple of examples here. One is schools. Teenagers tend to run delayed with respect to the rest of the world. And not only human teenagers, it also happens in monkey teenagers and in rat teenagers. Can you imagine a teenage rat? Yes. No. Food. No, Dad, you don't understand. It's like a human, right? What would happen if we could shift school times a little bit later? Because starting school at 7:20 a.m. is a cognitive absurdity. You know what would happen? Better grades, better mood, and fewer absences. Also hospitals. Most drugs in hospitals are administered between 10 and 11 a.m. because that's when the doctor's rounds end. It's not the time at which medicines work better. Timing in medicine is not trivial. It might be the difference between health and disease. And also screens. Those little rectangles we all sleep with. Nobody sleeps alone. We all take screens to the bed. Yes, another scroll, another episode, and that steals hour of sleep. And he also, you know what? It puts weight on. If you have a screen in your bed, you gain weight. It's not asado, it's ravioli. It's the screens in your bed. Actually, you know what? Nobody's going to call you at 4 a.m. from Stockholm to tell you that you won the Nobel Prize. So you can exile your screens and your phone from the bed. And the third lens is a personal dream, civic and scientific, what I like to call the circadian city. Cities are built in space, right? We have subways, parks, bike lanes, but cities live in time. And we have a right to time in those cities. What if we expressed that right? And we would be able to live, to love, to create at the right time of our lives. And I'm talking about dreams, right? And we all have dreams because we are humans. And since we are humans, we like to fulfill our dreams. So there's a very simple recipe for fulfilling dreams. First, you have to dream them, right? But how do you dream? Of course, you have to sleep. Good night.